can hear me good.
I can hear you. I hope you can hear.
Fantastic.
I hope you.
Hey.
Yeah, I hope.
Ooh. Are you using the infrastructure? Oh, let me check something. I'm very proud to say that the HLS is also working. Yeah, I can. I'll set it up. That would always be a very good start.
If you watch the live stream on YouTube, you will now actually see a dynamic text of who is talking. It's dynamic to the point that I change it manually, but it's still dynamic nonetheless. To help you understand who's saying what. So we're gonna get started. We're gonna have to hurry up a little bit. So the first item on this week's agenda is something. It is reviewing the previous week's reports, which every week just kind of turns into, has anyone got anything they want to talk about before we start? So has anyone got anything they want to talk about before we start? That isn't on the agenda already, sorry.
No.
That's a no.
Yeah, no.
And that's a no. Hang on a minute, I need to test the
Yeah, I
audio.
think
It's
we're all
actually
good.
working. Has anyone got anything? Oh. I'm just waiting for something to come through, hang on. Okay, perfect. The live stream is also working. So, we will go ahead with the second item on the agenda, which is to do with Sam. Sam is here, that's a good thing. Sam would like us to talk about the Ministry of Education, specifically about the Ministry of Education being granted the same rights as other ministries, having low ranks, NCO ranks, and senior civil servants, a team at Papers, a team at Sevastopol, oversight of NCO courses, and new measures to counter incompetent officers. So Sam, would you like to talk to us about that?
Yeah, so I'm gonna start with the LR and NCO ranks. So, we have been seen to have a lack of progression, so if we have LRs and NCO ranks, we can gain our progression, and we can give LRs and NCOs experience that they can use in other parts of the IRF, like if they want to join OA or DS or somewhere in a ministry's NCO course on their own. And as well, it also gives us less free ranking, because at the current system, it goes from anybody can join to a commissioned officer, which is not the same as any other ministry. Every other ministry has progression. So I'd rather be seen as a ministry that has progression instead of a ministry that gives free ranks and transfers as well.
Interesting points there. So I'm just going to start with a little kind of first point on that. How would progression work?
Progression would work like just like every other ministry. We'll have the same LR ranks, NCO ranks. They will do their quota and they would get enough points to go to the next rank. It would just work like another ministry, like the Ministry of Admissions or MOSS.
I see. Does anyone else would like to talk about this?
Could I just ask something for the minutes?
Yes,
could you
please.
send me information on the previous weekly reports and summary, etc.?
Nothing happened.
Wait, one sec. I need to
Nothing
open the
happened.
curtain.
Yeah,
There's no light in here.
We skip that one.
Okay.
Okay, so does anyone have anything they would like to talk about relating to Sam's proposals? We'll go down them one by one. So, Ministry of Education being granted the same rights as other ministries. Does anyone have anything on that? Chaotic, okay, and KSO. So, KSO, you go first, because Chaotic said it after you. So KSO is asking, Ministry of Education has a very specific job. Why do they need LR and NCO ranks? When Sam comes back.
Here.
Oh, here you go. Yeah.
I
Sam.
can answer your question. The Ministry of Education relies on about its current staff of 16 NCOs to do every single thing a ministry has to do. Another ministry, like the Ministry of Admissions, which we'll use an example, has about 50 LRs, 20 NCOs that are currently waiting, and a full, maybe also 15 officers, let's say as an example. They have more people to do work for them, but the Ministry of Education has to update documents, which constantly need updating, do events for the probationary course, update sheets, databases, and all that. We have to do all of that with just the 15 people. So it becomes a bit of a work problem, and we could lose staff because staff would not like to be overworked. I'm sure people would not like piles and piles of documents on them all the time. So we need ways to improve on our current system and find a way to delegate the work to other people so that we can give others the work that is more important and give others the work that of the bulk work, the less important work.
Okay, thank you, KSO. Does that answer the question? Yeah, so KSO wants to know what these LRs and NCOs would be doing, and so does Chaotic as well. So can we get an answer to that one as well?
LRs and NCOs will be doing the jobs that current professors do. So they would be supervising events, whereas a regular LR would be attending.
Okay, but Chaotic would like to know who's actually going to be hosting officer education.
The LRs and NCOs will be doing that.
Right, so can you see people's concern when it's you kind of coming here and saying that, so we've got these people who are candidates who are the highest LR ranks and NCO ranks, and they're now going to be supervised by people much lower than them.
You see, every ministry has their own duties. Every ministry has to complete their duties in some way, and they complete that by having LRs and NCOs. If a person is trained properly on how to do their job, they are qualified to do that job.
That's not...
Meaning if we train our LRs and NCOs...
Could I point something out, please?
Then
hang on a
we-
second, Blue. Hang on a second. That's not strictly true, Sam. Because you can't train people to be experienced. You can't train them in, like, activity at papers, you know, from real scenarios. You can teach them a book, but you can't teach them that on-the-job experience, surely.
In order for somebody to become a good officer, I guess we can say, they do need experience. But we can give them that experience by letting them join the Ministry of Education.
They need to be taught by people who have that experience that can't be taught through a book.
The first information given to a person is through a book.
Yeah, but
so
then you learn,
that would be the
but
same thing.
Then you learn other skills when you're a qualified senior civil servant, like through scenarios at papers and events that happen at papers and incidents that you have to deal with. You kind of grow. You still learn on the job, and letting LRs teach senior civil servants. Can you see the issue?
I do understand, though the same experience can be gained through the progression through the Ministry of Education, just as if
It
we're
can't-
another
these-
ministry.
These
The
low
duties
ranks,
are just
these low ranks don't have senior civil servant duties though, so they're not going to be able to learn the experiences. That's the problem. But
I
I'm going to
understand.
have to move on from that because Precious and Lewis are both stood up. So which one was stood up first?
I was.
Okay, Lewis goes
So,
first.
if you don't mind.
Go for
So,
it.
this entire proposal with the LRs and NCOs in MOE is designed to make MOE more like other ministries. But with the current way the proposal works, it feels like it's being special cased again with the whole LRs, NCOs teaching higher ranks and supervising and whatnot. And it feels like that no matter what's going to be proposed here, it will always be different to a regular ministry. So at what point do we just say that it doesn't matter and we leave it as a special case?
Sam?
the Ministry of Education will always be a special case ministry, just for this reason that it only accepts NCOs. There's no changing that, and there's also no guaranteeing quality in officers, which is why I propose this LR and NCO thing. You can never have a perfect officer. There's no such thing. So we can do our best to train our LRs and NCOs to know what they're doing and ensure that they are of good quality. But we can't ensure 100% guarantee that they are going to be great. It's just how it is.
It just feels like, at this point, because yes, we can teach LRs and NCOs, but as others have already expressed, it doesn't feel or look correct. And you've got to take the appearance of the ministry into account when we're doing this. But also, if it's always going to be a special case, what is the actual point of trying to bring it closer to other ministries? Because it will always be a special case. You've said it. So I'm just not really convinced.
Okay, thank you.
One moment.
Thank you for that, Lewis. While Sam goes AFK, I don't know where he's gone, but goes AFK. I will just point out to people that there is a free discussion scheduled for the Ministry of Education later, so keep your questions to kind of concise points. Precious, if you want to go, please only ask one question, because again, time management. We don't want to spend all meeting on education.
Okay, I'm back. Alright. As for... Oh, never mind.
It's fine, we'll discuss it during the free time later.
Is there any concerns with the quality of... Sam, is there any concern that the quality of officers will decrease in letting LRs and NCOs...
Well, with our current probationary system, it's basically like the LR and NCO system, but without the actual progression. So, your current officers are already being trained by LRs and NCOs, and I think they're turning out fine, unless any other minister wants to disagree.
Well, that brings me to a good point here. So, you say they're doing fine, yet you've put in your proposal...
Wait, I'm being called for something.
Okay.
I'm sorry, one
We'll
second.
come back to MOE at the end, because we'll move on, because there's a lot to get through. So we'll come back to MOE at the end. Blue, you'll be first to speak when we come back to MOE, agenda item number 7. But we're going to move on now to Will's proposal on the fellowship department, is it?
Yep, well, it's not my proposal per se, but I'm bringing it up for it to be discussed in the meeting.
Okay, let me just get the link to it from the agenda box.
Yeah.
Where is it? Here we go, fellowship department. Okay, so here's a proposal. It's from Mittens. Oh, fantastic. It's a division in community engagement, by the looks of things, that seeks to provide community engagement to other ministries. Have I got that about right?
Yep.
Okay, I'm going to post the proposal document for this in the chat for the VC. I've also posted it in Cabinet General. If you want to have a quick read over it. It seems like a fairly decent proposal here, so we'll give 2 minutes for people to have a read, and then once we've had a read, we will move to discuss the specific points in the document here. Okay, a little bit of time for people to read the document there. So, does anyone have any questions on this? Blue, since New isn't here, I'll let you and Rain ask questions this time. So, go for it.
Just going to point something out. By looking over the documents, it says that the department's purpose is to help other ministries, but it doesn't go into specific detail as to what they're helping with. So it does look to me like there could be a bit of an overlap with the duties of the Chancellery in that, like, communications or policy.
Is Mittens here? Mittens? Mittens, are you here? Is Mittens here?
Yep, they are.
Yes, they are.
Mittens, you're typing in main chat room. Fantastic. Can you please explain what that means? We've got Mittens here explaining what's going on. When Mittens sends it in the chat, I will read it. It's alright, Rain, they're typing in the Discord, so it's fine, I'll just read it out. Chaotic, while Mittens types, would you like to ask your question? So Chaotic says, each member will be assigned to a ministry and be trained according to said ministry's duties, so would it not be easier and better to have them as a full employee of whatever ministry they're going to be assigned to? That's a valid point.
Yeah, that's the point I brought up too. Because I understood it under the way that they would not be really a member of the ministry, but they would be more of like advisors. Like they could help people with maybe if they have questions, or but they wouldn't be really a member of the ministry itself.
Do ministers not employ advisors already?
MOSS does. I'm not sure about others.
Iskra does, they've got an advisor offer.
So, I like the concept of this proposal. I think that we lack community events in ministries. But my personal take is that it's a good introductory proposal, but I think it needs to be sent to policy and implementation for a bit of finessing. Does anyone have any proposal against that? Blue?
Harking back to some of the words I said earlier, the proposal as a concept does seem like it steps on some of the toes of other departments. Community events, for one, is something that can be handled by MOCE's Department of Community Events, or whatever it's called, whose one job is to host community events. And in relation to advice, ministers already hire their own advisors to begin with, and the Chancellery does exist
I think
for communications
I think
and policy
those are valid
advice.
points, but I think we don't need to overcomplicate the business of hosting Discord events, because I fear that very soon we'll turn into ACS, where you have to do some trainings for hosting game nights and things, and that would just be the end of the world, really.
You could do it as ministries are just allowed to host their own events, have officers do it. That would be simpler.
What was I going to say? Okay, well, are any of us opposed to sending this proposal? Mittens, we'll get someone to reach out to you as well. But does anyone have any problem with this being sent to Implementation and Policy Office for them to work on? I'm going to assume that's a no. Okay, that's a no. We have no objections to that, so that will be sent to IPO for them to look over and work on. Next on the agenda is Wild. Yay, Wild. Are you here, alive? Wild would like to talk about giving his ministry more power. Wild, please inform us all about these fantastic proposals of yours. Wild has made a copy and paste. How much are you betting that it's gonna tag? It's gonna tag. It's definitely gonna tag. No, it's not. Okay.
Oh wow.
Okay, so I submitted this before I realised I needed a bill for it. So basically, what I want is I want to give MOA the authority to ban certain items or accessories for roleplay purposes. Please don't stand up if you've got questions yet. Wait for a while to finish. So you might have seen regulations this week. No entry for people with beards. It is to expand this concept into IRF teams as well. Now, of course, I'm not going to go around banning people for using a moustache. However, I believe there is room for roleplay in modifying what an individual can and can't do. I also want to expand this to border regulations, ability to change what a team can or cannot do, etc. So, for example, at the minute, only ND and MOA can authorize a lockdown. Let's say they wanna. There's not enough raids. MOSS would be able to change that as well. Now, obviously, I'm not going to give myself complete authority. We should have a sort of advisory committee for these decisions. As far as I remember, that MOJ people will be able to challenge for any unreasonable regulations. So this was an early concept idea I wanted to get feedback on. Okay, if you have a question, please line up in the middle, since I can see. I think this one might be a bit of a controversial one. Please line up in the middle in a line, and then you will be called in the order that you line up in. Blue, what is your question to Wild's little document?
I'm going to be completely honest with you, Wild. This proposal and how you've described it, regulating accessories, etc., on IRF teams does seem like it will conflict with prescribed dress regulations set centrally.
I'm just going to simplify that for the audience at home. It's a fucking massive power grab, and it's going to conflict with loads of documents and confuse people.
For two, you want the ability to change what teams can or cannot do. That is not something within the scope of the Ministry of Admissions policy portfolio.
Yes.
That is something more akin to the Cabinet's role in government.
Yes, Wild. These are valid points. How do you respond? Salvus, if you keep complaining about me jokingly not letting you into the chamber, I will ban you from future cabinet meetings. This is like a toddler arguing, oh, I'm not allowed to get a seat. Just sit down in the chamber if you want to sit down.
I know you said an advisory committee.
And yeah, Wild, I'm concerned that we can't.
Who would make up that advisory committee? That would be.
We can't change military. We can't change military rules. We can't force the military to do things. Unless they're in the city, then we can make rules for the city, but we can't just make them for the border exclusively. That would be illegal. Very illegal. You wanted to hear me call it illegal. Interesting.
To conclude, this should probably be sent to the policy office for further refinement.
Oh no. Oh no. Wild is going to go mad. Not another one of his policies being sent to the policy office. Chaotic says, I do not think that the Ministry of Mission should have ability to manage what government employees can and cannot do. It's very much overstepping on authority. Thank you, Chaotic. That is, yes, I agree. Mirroring a point there. Yes, thank you. Actually, I don't know where exactly. Okay, well, where it stands on authority, Wild, is you have absolutely none to propose this. That's the current legal basis, unless you manage to get a bill passed the Senate, which I don't think it would pass. That's just me. Yes. Okay. Tack.
All right. So I'm gonna speak about both parts that Wild had said. I agree with Chaotic. What Chaotic said. Wild is trying with his thing, trying to get a lot more power. That for booth stuff, it would work for roleplay at the border, but once you get through the border and stuff, it's out of his jurisdiction for roleplay. Once you get through the border, it's state security and the other ministries. So I don't know why he would be able to have control over all civilians, over the entire government for what they can or cannot do.
Okay, thank you, Tack, for that. Lewis.
Yes, I do believe this will very slightly mirror some of the points already previously mentioned, but on behalf of the Ministry of State Security, this encroaches on our own field. This would imply that admissions can now criminalize certain accessories or actions or whatever, and I personally do not like the implications that gives for future proposals and whatnot. It feels like that this will suddenly allow individual ministers or a small group of people to start criminalizing stuff outside of the cabinet's control and whatnot if this gets passed.
Thank
and
you.
I really do not wish for that to happen.
Okay, thank you, Lewis. Well, we'll take that on to note. While what we'll do is we'll submit this to a vote, but I think you already know the outcome of kind of supporting this. I think you can kind of tell. There's not really much positivity about it in the people here. What was I gonna say? It reminds me of proposals written by a certain IRF member, a former member of the Central Committee. Yes, thank you, Chaotic. It does sound like one of those. Okay, well now we're swiftly on to a request from Albin. This is Albin from the military man Albin. He would like us to consider his proposal that a joint events Discord server is created to to coordinate better between the government and the military. This joint Discord server would control things for... When I get it up on my screen again. So, cooperation with security, enforcement bodies, other bits and pieces, and joint events. So, what are people's thoughts on this? Who stood up down there? Is that Will the Oofer? It's Will the Oofer.
Yep. So, especially with the interbranch bill, I think it would only be beneficial. Because so far I don't think it's been really enforced that much. And I think making central Discord for coordination like this would only help.
Okay, but I've got a really good counterpoint. It's called the IRF Discord.
Yes, but this, like the Discord, would be used specially for joint events
Okay,
and
we could just have some
coordination and all.
we could just have some special channels. Blue, you were stood up next.
Should we queue up again?
Yeah, please. Makes my life a hell of a lot easier if you queue up.
So, to my knowledge, ACS used to have something very much like what Alvin is describing.
Yes, and just for note there, it died.
And it died and fell apart, and it's been under reform for months.
Yes.
It has been tried, it has been tested, it has not worked. This is not something we should go ahead with.
I agree. This is very based. Chaotic, do you also agree? Yay! Lewis!
I mean, all my points have already been said, but yes, we
Another
already
one.
had the military liaison system, and it fell apart from what I can see here. So it's just like, what's the point of trying to get into each other's affairs again?
The liaison system, just to chuck something in there, the liaison system hasn't actually been implemented yet. There is no appointed liaison.
There is.
Yes, but
Well, ICE.
even
We've sent ICE to the military, but we haven't got one back yet.
well,
Ah.
it's been there. It's been there for ages. So as far as I'm concerned, it's fallen apart. Like
No.
there's no one back.
It died for a little bit, and then we've just brought it back, but it hasn't had enough time to get set up again yet, because military haven't sent us a representative yet, because they can't find anyone that fits the criteria.
Right.
And I don't see why we need a Discord server when the liaisons can just kind of talk to each other, and we can just invite the military one to the Chancellery Discord, and the government one can go to the military headquarters Discord. I don't see why that wouldn't work.
Okay, well then I change my opinion. I do not see the purpose in having a joint Discord. We have a liaison system.
Thank you very much. Sam?
Yeah, mine has probably also already been said. We have a server here, but it's already decommissioned because we didn't even get to use it once. It was never used. We just invited a bunch of people and wasted a bunch of people's time with zero
Was
reactions.
that joint events?
Yes.
Yeah, it's joint events.
Yeah.
Thank you. Tack?
Alright, speaking on this, I do agree that a separate Discord is entirely not needed, but I do say that having the maybe like being the IRF server would actually be a really great idea. Because one, if you have it in both if you have a role in both military and government server, that there can be a clash because you can say something in one server, it may not get translated over to the other server.
Okay,
Get
thank you.
translated over to the other server. Yeah.
Thank you. Rain? Yeah, that's just echoing yet again that they just fall apart very quickly. And Ice likes to talk about this here. Again, Ice, who is our representative to the military, has said that they don't think it's a good idea either. So I think that kind of is really balancing up this one. So
Well, if our own rep has said that, then that's
Well,
sort of put the nail on the coffin
exactly,
already.
but
in
we'll
a
do a
way.
vote on it anyway. But I can't see that being passed. Jagsop would like to talk about time zones and promoting different time zone events and recognizing the values and services of people in strange time zones like Australia and the far eastern parts of Asia. Jack says, "Hi all. Ever been to Papers at 3 or 4 a.m. in the morning?"
Yep.
Yes, many cabinet members have been to Papers at 3 or 4 a.m. in the morning. Lolman would like people to know that they are normal, so they haven't. Well, Jagsop said there are some people who play at 3 to 4 a.m. at your time. "2025 will be along soon. Just give it a little bit more time." But this time zone block isn't getting enough recognition. Rainfarer would like to note that Roblox Laz is enough of recognition. And we should really push for activity within these blocks and make it a 24/7 government and a 24/7 federation. It's possible as long as we keep pushing for it, making sure we recognise people who play during these times. And perhaps giving them more opportunities too. I want to open this floor for discussion. Also, another thing that Jag has proposed it might not have been in the agenda. I just kind of generalised it.
Just so everyone here is able to hear it, Jag said that he wants to propose admin units or a central admin unit, depending on how the vote goes.
And they should open time zone roles. Yavuzung and Maxinovsky, can you please stop planning some sort of 1v1 scrim in the government team chat? It's annoying. Of course
Yes,
I
we
can
can
see the team chat. It's the government team.
I would like to point out that that has been minuted.
Thank you.
You have both appeared in
Right. So, and the specific group time zone patrols. So, I'll start the discussion on this. I think that we do need to increase our involvement of people in far time zones. However, Jag, your proposals are very good-minded here, but I think we need to start with some research. So I'm going to propose that we get our beloved Implementation and Policy Office alongside the Community Engagement, Analytics and Questioning Office to run some data and collect some data on people's time zones. So just a general survey of kind of whereabouts are you, time zone wise. Would you be interested in events in your time zone? What events do you think lack in your time zone? That kind of thing. And they report back to us in a week or 2 weeks' time. We'll give it 2 weeks on this information. And then I suggest that we make some new positions in the Chancellery for time zone coordinators, whose job it will be to make sure that ministries are kind of representing their people in these far time zones and that events can be hosted. Does anyone have any other things to add? If so, please stand in the middle for our, in a line for our little time zone discussion. Thank you, Blue. Yeah.
I would like to echo my agreement with the basic principles of the proposal,
Yes, thank you.
but I would also like to point out that as the current position we are in, we do not currently know whether or not this is necessary to begin with. People might be active, but if there's no demand, then
So it has actually been brought up by some people in far time zones that they don't feel included.
I see. In that case, time zone coordinators and their role is another thing I brought up with. What's going to be the criteria for time zone coordinators and how will the system work?
They need to be in the
will
time
people-
zone that they want to represent.
No, I know that, but in terms of how they will ensure that things are complied with.
So they will be little representatives and voices for these people in the time zones. They can report back to us. We'll let them come to cabinet meetings to update us on the progress of advancing, more events for Australia or more events for Indonesia. I don't know. Time zones are weird. And then, if not, we can get ministers to kind of be chased up by IPO on their behalf to make sure that a range of events are available for these people. I'm just going to add before you talk, Tack, as well. With our new scheduling system that I'm rolling out, they will also need to ensure that there is, for example, accessible time zone based tryouts for things like state security and things like that. Tack, go on.
I'm gonna say I actually completely agree with Greg's saying, because I have been on many times at the Tier 4, as he said, where there is a crazy wave of activity, but we don't know any staff. Personally, I don't know any staff that are actually able to do stuff at like 3 or 4 in the morning. Most of us here are either in North America or in Britain, and most of our time are actually clashing together where we can actually do events like what we're doing right now. Those the quote unquote odd time zones, I do agree, get left out a lot because of the lack of people who can actually do events with them.
No, okay, that works for me. Mr. David. Yeah, okay, Mr. David is gonna represent the Ministry of Economic Affairs and Transportation for the remainder of this meeting. Blue, can you please make sure that's noted down?
Can you repeat that, please, for a second?
Mr. David, XX, Mr. David Pro XX, is going to be representing Economic Affairs and Transportation for the remainder of this meeting. Frostry has just avoided the big empty chair. Okie dokie. So that's good. I think again we do agree on the time zone thing, and it's an important topic because this has been avoided for quite a long time, and Jag and I are guilty of ignoring it because it hasn't been in the front of our mind because events are hosted at good times for us and for most people here, so that's why it won't be looked at. So I'd like to bring us back to education. Now, this is going to be a controversial discussion. I can already feel it. So I'm going to limit this to 10 minutes, and I only want people to raise problems and solutions we can discuss in private, in the text channels, in threads, for each issue raised. So Blue, if you can just note each issue and a little topic of what it is, because then I can go and make a threads channel of, like, you know, retention and stuff like that. So just for some context, the reason why this has been brought up is because there has been some problems in education, especially with officers transferring out of education and things like that. So Blue, you wanted to go first because you stood up last time. So would you like to inform us? Rain, I'll add you for the specific purposes.
So, from the description of the staffing problems in MOE, the administrative burden on them is quite high. And it sounds like the way that the ministry, sort of the ministers spun it, or whoever's representing them here, is that the majority of their work is paperwork based. This would then paint education to be largely a paperwork ministry. And I think that a greater emphasis has to be placed on education of officers and not undue, unneeded bureaucracy that can be handled by a central administrative unit.
Woo! Make sure to vote in the proposals to abolish administration units. Yay! Yeah, I agree, Blue. I do agree with that. And I also like to echo your point there, is that I'm okay with employing LRs and I'm okay with employing NCOs in education. They can do paperwork, but they're not training candidates. That shouldn't be happening. And I'm sure you agree with that as well. To a limited degree. Okey-dokey.
If I may just make
Yes.
a final point as well, just as I finish up.
Yeah.
If there is a problem with officers transferring out of education, something is seriously wrong with the way the ministry is run.
Yes, and that...
In an ideal world, officers shouldn't have to... They're fleeing the ministry, basically, by blood from a wound.
Yeah, that is correct, and that was raised as quite a serious issue, and we read Edward's report on that. Well, some of us have. I've not given it to every minister, and it does paint quite a worrying picture. So thank you, Blue, for your contributions. Rainfarer? So Rainfire is saying here that Edward's report, which has been done by the Ministry Inspectorate for them, the rate of transfers out of MOE is 66%, nearly 67% out of every transfer. So this is quite a high number of people leaving education to become senior civil servants elsewhere. So some of the transferees were asked why they moved, and they said, since the day I graduated from MOE, I have been working there, never left once, Been working there for 3 months and still have no rank development. Rainfire, I hate to rush you, but we've only got like 6 minutes left on this topic. And there are a lot of people that want to speak. My efforts within the Ministry of Education have been ignored, and I have been not rewarded for my dedication, and that's one of the reasons why I'm looking forward to a temporary redeployment.
Rain, if you want to send me some of those, I'll read them out for you, if needed, at the end.
Oh, we don't have time for that, there's other agenda items. KSO. KSO has a question. Also, Blue, while KSO types, just some fun trivia for people in the chat here. I didn't realise this, but if you look at a UK passport from the side, like where the paper is, the little purple page indicators actually spell UK. I didn't notice that. That's quite cool.
Wait, they do?
Yeah,
Interesting.
Lewis, get your passport out.
Shit, hold on.
And like, you know, like you'd flip through a book?
Yeah.
Yeah, flip it, you'll see the words UK spelt.
In the meantime, the MOE report says Ministry officers are inactive and HC does nothing to replace them, and they're getting bored of it due to repetition.
Okay, that's not exactly a great statement of support for the Ministry of Education.
Oh, do you have a new passport?
Yeah, it's a blue one.
I've still got a burgundy.
Nah.
No, not yet. I'll try it out when I get a new one.
Okay, thank you, KHF. Blue, please note that the fire service agenda item has been cancelled because the representative has had to leave.
Can it be replaced? Can I make a last-minute request?
I know you really want to talk about the agency system, but the problem is that we've got Vass's event in half an hour.
I promise it'll be fast.
Yeah, I know. What I propose instead, can I give you another proposal? I add you and Rain to the Cabinet General chat temporarily again, and we can have a discussion on it there.
That works.
Fantastic. Yes, Jag, I'm aware that it's a big change. I'm not 5 years old. I can read the group chat. I know it's a big change, but the time was decided about an hour ago. So this meeting kind of has important stuff to go through. KSO, have you typed your question yet? Okay, go.
He asked if there are any rank requirements to apply for MOE staff.
Sam.
No, there is none.
There's not?
There's not. No.
Oh, okay. Thank you, KSO. Yes, I agree there should be. We'll have to have a look at that. Thank you.
I have been seeking to change it because that's how it was placed by my predecessors. And so now that I see a problem with it, now that's why we're here to change it.
Lewis, fastest you've ever talked.
Yes, taking into account the reports as well, with like the rank progression and stuff, I'm no longer confident that even if we add LRs and NCOs to the equation, that we will actually have a proper rank progression that works in MOE for officers and the like, the people who actually teach. I don't understand how we can improve that by just adding more ranks at the lower stages.
Valid point, Sam.
So,
Adding LRs and NCOs will increase activity just because of the fact that there is more people. We can't guarantee that they are specifically active.
No, it's not an activity issue.
Hang on a minute. Let me just, because I meant to kind of make these meetings flow. What Lewis is saying, Sam, is that it's the senior civil servants that are complaining that they have no progression. So adding ranks below them isn't exactly going to help them out, is it? Because they can't really go down the ranks, they have to go up the ranks.
Yes, I understand. It's hard to add a bunch of senior civil servants ranks because there's a limit to the where it goes to the point that eventually it's just a rank name and it doesn't mean anything. You're just working for a fancy new title on your username.
Never underestimate what people in this group want. I have known
Sit down for
people in
now.
my time in this group who have risen the ranks purely to be able to sit in a better chair. So everything is possible in the IRF. Mr. Bouncelot. Mr. Bouncelot's got a question for Sam. Yes, thank you, Blue. I've noticed the time. Rain, can I just ask what your point's going to be?
Get some synchronicity.
We're not going to read out the quotations. We've not got time. We haven't got time. There's two other items on the agenda. We really haven't got time. Bound, of course, it's been brought to the attention of the cabinet. We're sat here.
But is it all?
I'll read them out. It'll be quicker.
Okay, Rain's copying and pasting them. My ministry doesn't have enough officers. Something. Just minute them.
You already
please.
said those.
Ministry officers are inactive, and HC does nothing to replace them, and repetition is boring. That's the gist of it, pretty much.
Thank you very much. So we must very much swiftly move on now because we are running out of time. So, policy office document consideration on exclusion orders. Can someone please summarise in 2 minutes what has actually changed about this time?
Will do.
Because I don't. This is coming back to us again. So have everything that we wanted been fixed in it.
It involves admissions, state security, FISA, and the criminal court now.
Right. So everyone that we wanted to be in it is in it. Rain. Rain. Really simple. Yes or no answer. Has
Yes.
policy office placed every change that we wanted in this document?
Exclusion orders can be appealed to the criminal court now.
Fantastic. That's great. Thank you, Blue. If that's been added, then we're pretty good. Okay, yep, Wildwood afforded...
FISA enforce them, state security and High Command can request issuance of exclusion order from
Blue,
admissions.
we're gonna have to move on because we're running out of time. Chaotic, I'll take your question in Cabinet General, but once again, up to a week is rather long. I do agree with Chaotic there, but we're gonna have to move this one to the Cabinet chat because we're running out of time. So, Sam, you are the final thing on the agenda, and it was you want to update the Interbranch Relations Bill. So,
I'll paste it and I'll also read it out. If it's not broken by the word cap.
well, just tell me.
Which it
Just
probably is.
read it out.
The Interbranch Article 5 be amended to read, military police members, when certified by the Academy of Public Order, may engage in enforcement of civil law where A. agreed between authorized officers of the military police, the High Command, or of the Ministry of State Security in support of joint events and ceremonies, or requested by a police officer in effecting an apprehension of arrest.
Summarize.
Military police, when certified by the APO.
What is this actually going to do? So when they're certified, they can do what exactly?
They can engage. They can enforce civil law where it's agreed between authorized officers or
That's
of military police
that's
or
already-
MOSSHC.
That's already in the IRF-wide law book that's being voted on by the Senate. It's cross-enforcement.
All right.
So we'll leave that one out. Right. Okay. That is everything on the agenda. We were gonna tack. Right. I'm gonna end this meeting on a very quick note because this is something that's annoying me recently. The agenda for these meetings is decided in advance of the meeting. Things are not being added during the meeting because we are already running out of time. If you had a point to bring up, it should have been placed in the cabinet meeting agenda chat before I closed it. Blue writes the notes for these very well, but they only work when there's an agenda that's kind of fixed. And I time everything to how many item agenda points we've got. So if you have something to bring up, please make sure that you put it in the correct chat and that it's detailed so we don't waste time waiting for people to explain things or copy and paste stuff, things like that. I'm going to change how that works a bit because we waste a lot of time on stuff that we don't need to waste time on here. So that's the end of this cabinet meeting. The next group event is Tack, just to reply to your whisper there, it would have been in the agenda, but it got far too busy. This meeting shouldn't have been this long. It's gone over an hour, so it shouldn't have been this long already. The next meeting of the cabinet is next week at 7 o'clock GMT. The next IRF-wide event is in 30 minutes, and this is the 7th birthday of the IRF event, so please make sure you are there. Please wear a nice outfit if you have one, and I will see most of you there as well. What was I going to say? Weekly reports will be brought back from next week, but this week, no. So weekly reports are next week. That they'll be brought back. And please remind your ministries that double quota is still in effect until tomorrow, so they can get double quota points. Double quota points if they would like them. Okay, thank you everyone for attending, and this meeting is now over.